What is currently happening, programs? Welcome to the Grid VR, where I'll be bringing you this week's news in virtual reality. It's Sunday, the 8th of July, 2018, and all I can say this week is support the projects you love. We've got Marvel Powers bringing the bows, esports leagues Unspoken stealing the show, Plexus gloves more betterer than toes, The Legend of Zelda, Zero Caliber, VFC Brawl, and much more. Today, I'm going to cover off the main events to keep you in the loop. So stay locked, enjoy, and welcome to the Grid VR. The Marvel Powers United roster is ever growing as we hurtle towards the release date for this single-player or multiplayer co-op title from Marvel, Oculus, and Sansaru Games. On the Playable Heroes team this week, we see Hawkeye step up to the mark alongside Natasha Romanoff, aka the Black Widow. Bow and arrow are a favourite of mine in VR, so the addition of Clint Barton's bow and trick shots should make for welcome and a more human approach to this title. Natasha Romanoff, on the other hand, has guns, grenades, and a stick. And as with the other characters, a string of super cheesy one-liners.
You are doing a great job of getting in the way of my attacks.
Also, Lisa Geloza, the tech comms manager at Oculus, has posted up a pic of two bosses coming to the game. This time, it's Venom and Ultron. These two now join the ranks alongside Loki and Ronan the Accuser as unplayable bosses in the game. Lisa also posted a screen grab of the Sakaar Arena, which was featured in the Thor reveal trailer from this episode of the Grid VR last year, as well as a screen grab of the Wakanda location, which appeared in last week's episode covering the Black Panther reveal. The game is looking good so far, both visually and mechanically, and it will be out on the Oculus store in 2.5 weeks, so stay locked here for updates. The Esports League, in partnership with Oculus and Intel, was sending top players from the Unspoken leg of the tournament to OC5 in September this year. All travel, accommodation, and entry fees paid for. A great prize, no doubt, if you're a competitor. Then, late this week, the league's webpage mysteriously had a case of missing information that wasn't previously missing. Following that, Hong Lai Dang, aka Gravity, the community manager and league ops for the Esports League, including Unspoken VR, confirmed in a Discord post that the Unspoken is being removed from the ESL. Wait, can they do that? Well, apparently, yeah. Gravity later cited that part of the decision was due to shrinking numbers in the last few weeks. This understandably sucks balls from a player's perspective, mostly because they have already been competing for the past month and a half in this tournament, and realistically, Oculus and the ESL should have seen the red flags and better projected this outcome before getting to a point where they had to cancel a tourney midway through. E-, for example, another YouTuber whose channel I'll link in the description below, mentioned to me that he had 4 people not even show up for the opening round of Unspoken at his tournament store last year, and some cities were just awarding the one person who showed up on the day, which is grim. But in saying that, in no way, shape or form is mid-tournament cancellation an acceptable practice. However, if you were to ask me,
Mother of God, I thought. Here it comes.
I think it's no fucking surprise the game was dropped. I almost never hear people talking about this title, with the exception of the actual players involved who have a vested interest, which is fine because that's how new things usually get off the ground, but dwindling player numbers during a tournament which started a month and a half ago, that's not a good sign. In a late development though, It's Zero Love, a partner manager at ESL, swooped in and saved the day with this post stating that after discussing with Oculus, we will keep the original plan. The top 4 players from the Unspoken will be invited to Oculus Connect 5, provided travel and will compete for a share of the overall VR League prize pool. An admirable move for sure, as they have decided to do right by the players at the end of the day. So in that regard, bravo. Though that's not going to change the fact that the ESL leg of this game in particular is going backwards. And it's not going to change the fact that unless there is some miracle, the Unspoken likely won't return to the ESL next year. Fair enough though, as me personally, I'd rather Oculus put that money towards something that is growing, like the Echo Arena ESL tournament, which starts later today, and there's links in the description for those. So what does it all mean? And why am I spending so much time on this story today? Well, because I want to make a point that most will already understand, but potentially may not be acting on its importance. You as a program are accountable, as am I, to support VR and the VR apps and games that we like. Failure to support will result in cancellation, plain and simple. And if you just sit on the fence and wait to see what happens, the result will be similar. Take this as a call out to get behind the devs and projects you believe in. Be active in the comments and on the forums, back the early access titles, talk about this tech and help spread the virus with the world. Because at the end of the day, if not us, then who? And briefly, X-Real Games are developing a tactical first-person VR shooter that looks both mechanically sound and visually stunning. Set in the near future, the game is listed to have a full single-player campaign and multiplayer co-op support, a range of highly customizable weapons, and engaging reloading and grenade lobbing mechanics like you would see from Pavlov or onward. The early access release is set for September 13 this year for Rift and Vive users, with the full release scheduled for early 2019. Stifled is a multi-award-winning, sound-based stealth thriller title by Ghostbusters Games for both flat PC gamers and VR gamers alike. You'll need to use sound to see and hear your enemies, and the game uses an optional microphone input that allows enemies to hear you coming, which doesn't just sound brilliant, but fucking terrifying too. VR controllers are not supported though, and a gamepad or keyboard and mouse is required for the VR component of the game. Set to release in 2 days' time for the Oculus Rift and HTC Vive, be ready to step into an engaging narrative where, in this space, everything can hear you scream. Virtual Fighting Championship is a PvP melee combat VR game being developed by L&L Technology. Box your way across 3 arenas in this virtual fighter / Tekken / Borderlands 2 style virtual punch-on. The game relies on a points-based hit system dependent on where and how hard you hit your opponent. You can block or dodge shots and have special abilities to keep things interesting. One cool thing about this game is that it prevents the VR equivalent of button mashing by reducing the damage of the first player to take a hit, which encourages the other player to defend, reset, and then think about their next move. Set for a Q3 release date for Vive and Rift owners, VFC could be the brawl you've been waiting for. A program called Aklar45 has added to his collection of playable Zelda battles with the Stallord boss battle. Face off with the boss of the Arbiter's Ground in the 4th dungeon in The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. Use your bow and arrow to remove the eyes of the skeletal remains of the resurrected dragon and then smash them to bits with Link's sword. A ton of fun, ridiculously good looking, and free to download and play. I've also put a link in the description to Aklar45's other works from the Zelda universe, and I'd highly recommend you head there and give them a go too. Plexus is a company offering another natural hand tracking solution for virtual reality in the form of the Plexus VR and AR gloves. The gloves track every finger joint with 21 degrees of freedom, have haptic feedback, and you can attach a range of tracking options like a Vive tracking puck or even a Rift or Vive controller. The gloves will be available in a medium size at first, with smaller and larger versions planned for the commercial launch. Pre-orders are live now for dev kits at $249 US a pair, which will ship in August this year, and a consumer release is currently targeted for next year. So check the links in the description if this is something you are interested in developing for. Also, Ghostbusters is hiring. Firehouse will be released on the Oculus Store and Steam on the 27th of July. I covered this title in this episode of the Grid VR when it released for the PSVR last year, and it's essentially a short, modern Ghostbusters experience. A professor at the University of Tokyo's Research Center for Advanced Science and Tech has posted screenshots of a tiny Steam VR tracker he built from parts for less than $3. It's extremely limited and not functional for what we understand as everyday VR, but it's cool as shit to see the possibility of Valve's open source approach being innovated in this way. An anonymous source reported from Tom's Hardware has said that Nvidia's next line of GTX 11 series cards may sport a new proprietary connector, potentially designed by Nvidia themselves to help with VR-specific bandwidth issues. The connector will allow for 120Hz or 120 frames per second output at high resolutions through a single cable, bringing it in line with what a lot of us hope to see from Gen 2 or potentially Gen 3 VR headsets. And as for PSVR users, there is a massive sale on the PSVR store right now that includes a lot of great games at cheap-ass prices. As always, all the links are in the description. And finally, Michael Kuzmin, the head of business development at HeroCraft, has posted a pic on Twitter from White Nights 2018 that shows a 160% year-over-year increase in monthly active VR users on Steam. And while the VR market is still tiny, this is growth, good growth. And I'd like to diplomatically point out to all the VR is dead posters of the past, haha, fuck you. Seriously though, support the VR projects you love, and together we can build the grid. And that's this week on the Grid VR. You can help support this channel by grabbing exclusive rewards on Patreon, and if you like this video, then crush that like button, have your say in the comments below, and hit the XO logo to subscribe if you wanna. I'll see you in the next one. Peace!